Hello, this is Thomas, K4SWL. If you're new here, I like to do real-time, real-life amateur radio field activation videos. And today I'm at Zebulon Vance Historic Birthplace again. Sort of doing it's almost a weekly thing for me, as I've mentioned before in other videos. And I'm going to enjoy it all I can, because frankly, next school term, my daughters will not be taking classes anywhere near here. So I'll probably go back to my activating it probably 3 times a year. It's sort of out of the way for me otherwise, and I don't think to come out here very often, so really enjoying this while I can. The park staff here are just so nice, and it's about just a little after 1 o'clock in the afternoon local, and this morning when I passed by here, I stopped in and asked the park staff if anybody had reserved the picnic shelter, and she said it's all yours. They didn't have anybody who had reserved it today, which was really nice. And as I've mentioned before, there really aren't a whole lot of other places to set up here. If you have a mobile station, you could definitely park over at the parking area and activate there. And I did that one time in the rain, probably 2 or 3 years ago. And I set up there and I think I took the impasse light and just stuck it outside my car and operated from my car during the rain, when there was actually there was a group here in the shelter. But I don't like doing that. I really like being outside. I don't like being in my car as much. So this is really the place to do it. It's right here at the little picnic shelter. And I mentioned last time I did a video here, I believe it was last time I did a video, maybe not, why I tend to use trees on this side over here and draw the lines over. And it has to do with how these trees are so close to the shelter and how they're kind of thick, and so they don't work very well with my standard little small throw line that I bring with me that has an 8-ounce weight and 2mm throw line. Those are not as good when you're trying to shoot a line really high and into a tree with a lot of branches and just really thick foliage. They don't work as well because the 8-ounce weight is just not heavy enough to sometimes pull the line down. And the last thing, I fortunately have never done this with a throw line, last thing I want is to have a throw line stuck in a tree. I don't want that at all. So I avoid that. But I was saying in my last video that one technique you can use in a situation like this is just grab one of the outside branches of the tree and shoot over that. If you have any level of accuracy, you can kind of do that. And in fact, if you swing the throw line so that you know it's going to shoot over and then out and not up and down, because that's the last thing you want to do with a lower weight, throw weight, is to shoot it up in the tree and have it come straight down the center. You can pretty much guarantee, if it's an 8-ounce weight and it's a tree that tall with that much foliage in it, that it's not going to make it to the bottom. It's going to have too much drag by the time it comes down to counteract just that little 8-ounce weight. But I brought with me today my regular larger poly throw line, the Weaver throw line. And this one has, I think, a 10 or a 12-ounce weight, and I won't have any problem at all getting into this tree. And so I'm going to set up, I think, a random wire antenna today in probably somewhere in this tree. I think I'll do this one. And I do get a lot of questions, and actually I'll probably, by the time this video comes out, I will have already posted a post about this, because I started a draft in my folder to remind myself. People ask me a lot, like, do you allow your line to touch tree limbs, your antenna wire? And the answer is absolutely. In the field, doing a POTA activation or a SOTA activation, my line touching even a wet tree branch, I don't worry about that one bit. Sorry, not line, I should say my antenna wire, my radiator wire. Because if you read in the books, they'll tell you that you're attenuating it a bit or kind of throwing the antenna off a little bit if you're touching a bunch of, place points on the tree. And it's true. It's very true. But I find that it just doesn't have enough of an effect for doing a POTA activation that I care. So I don't worry about it too much. Now, I try not to. I have a few times before literally brought a line straight up inside of a tree, and it's because it was the only way I could do it. Maybe it was just like the situation of where the tree's located up against a road, and I just didn't have enough of a space to do anything better than that. So I ran it that way. I try to avoid doing that, but I don't worry too much if my line goes over. In fact, when I do an inverted V configuration with, say, an in-fed half wave, I don't even use like a standoff or any kind of insulator in the middle to keep it from touching the tree. I just let the tree branch act as, you know, the apex of that inverted V, and I don't worry about it a bit. I've never had an issue whatsoever doing an activation because I did it that way, so it's really not a big deal. Now, I've got to think about this a little bit. I did not bring my better camera stand with me today. Just got this little tiny handheld one. So I'm going to set this up and see if I can show you how I do this, but I can't guarantee you're going to have a great view of this whole thing because I don't even know where I'm going to set it up so that you can see it. But I'll go ahead and start to deploy the antenna now. Let's see. Then I'll show you some of the other stuff I brought along with me, the radio I'm using and all that good stuff. Let's see, maybe I can put this on the ground here and position it so that you can see things. Let's see if that works. There we go. If you're new here, I don't edit my videos really at all. So, whoops, that's a little too much, isn't it? I don't really edit my videos. So the way that it works is, however I set it up is how it's set up, period. There we go. I think you'll be able to see me do it from here, hopefully. You won't be able to see the whole line, but you'll see most of it. Honestly, that really couldn't have gone better. That was exactly where I wanted it to go. That does not always happen, by the way. But it went straight through that tree. My radiator on my random wire antenna is only like 31 feet long. And as you can see, it'll be pretty much a vertical here, which is sort of what I want. So this is great. Yay. It's nice when that works out. People ask about this sometimes, like, looks like you always get it the right time the first time. That's not always the case. Probably at least half my videos I don't actually show the antenna deployment, and I'd say that probably half the time I get the branch, or I get an acceptable branch on my first throw. And a lot of that's because I just don't worry too much about how it's deployed. As long as it's deployed, I'm happy. So that's one of the reasons why I just don't really worry about it too much. The other is, well, I'd say then the other times I'm having to do, like, you know, 2 tries, maybe 3 tries, especially if it's kind of just a tricky deployment. This one was pretty easy though. Really, it's not that big of a deal. And once you use these throw lines for a little while, I don't care what health condition you're in, you can launch a line very easily up that high. That's just, it's using physics on your side. So just a little practice and you'll be able to do that. Now, let's take a look at my gear today. First of all, using my Blue Ridge Overland Gear gadget bag again, because I am still working on this field kit that I'll show you today. And this is nice. This carries basically all of my extra things I might need, like battery stuff. There's an ATU in here. I'll be using that today. There's some feed line. There's an extra throw weight in here, which I didn't need that today, of course. I've got some, like a little multi-tester and things in here. Wire strippers in case I need to do something in the field. I've got a bit of a first aid kit in here as well. And so I've kind of got everything I need in here in case I miss something. I just realized that there is something, looking at where this particular line is going to go. I may end up going back to the car and grabbing a longer feed line out of it. I do have a longer feed line that I think will work really well with the radio I've got today, come to think of it. So anyway, I may run back and do that, so I may turn off the camera for that. But here is the bag that I really want to talk about a little bit. This is the CP Gear Tactical. I think it's called a flight bag. I should have probably had the name. What I'll do is there will be a link always in QRPer.com. There's a link to QRPer.com in the description below. It's always the very first link in my video description. Click on that. In there, you'll see a link to this particular bag. This is a bag I purchased during Black Friday last year, so in 2022. And CP Gear Tactical, I've been eyeing this for a while. My buddy Rod actually had told me about it. He lives in Ontario, and I think he knew this company from his days working in the military, I believe. And they manufacture everything in Canada and I think some components in the United States, and primarily caters to the Canadian military. And this bag's like a little flight bag. So if you were a pilot, you would use this to maybe carry your documents, your flight plans, all that stuff in. And it's just meant to be a little tote for that. It's not meant for, active, like in a desert setting or, in the tropics or something where you've got it out in the field. It's really meant just to make it easy for you to carry things around. So there's no sealing on this. It's not necessarily waterproof or anything like that, but it does a wonderful job carrying what I want it to carry. And I'm going to fit this out to be a self-contained kit housing either my FT-817ND, which I have here, or the FT-818ND. But everything I need is in this bag. So I went ahead and put my logbook in here. I've got my key in here. These are all things I just threw in this morning. I actually have two different batteries that I brought with me. Both the same size, both 3 amp hour batteries. I've got a power pole distribution panel. A lot of people ask me, why do you carry a distribution panel with you? Well, frankly, I do that because I just like the convenience of it. It's really easy for me to carry this with me, and then I don't have to worry about if one of my cables doesn't have an inline fuse in it. Most of my radio cables do. And then if I decided to hook up something else to it, I could do that. I rarely do, but I just use it mainly for the fusing. Yes, it takes up more room than just having inline fuses on, say, your radio's power cable. But like in this case, I didn't grab one of my fused cables. I just have a plain old, power pole connector cable here. And this is the antenna. This is the Tufton 9-to-1 random wire antenna. I like this antenna. I like this one and the Pactenna. I think they're both great random wire antennas. And yeah, I've just got a second battery in here. That's all. And then I also keep my FT-817ND. Let me pull this out. This is my FT-817ND with the Armoloq TPA 817 pack frame. And this is a really cool pack frame. It looks wild, doesn't it? I didn't really know a whole lot about these until probably 2 years ago when one of my readers wrote and talked about the pack frame. And then I started noting that Gaston over at the Tech Prepper, I think that's the name of his channel, he really loves these, and he has them for a bunch of different models of his radios. And I saw it, and it's, if I'm being really honest, it's not a format of a pack frame or side rails that I would ever normally use, but I wanted to play with it because it's kind of unique. Like you can see here, I've got a connector. I want to think about a way that I can do this as kind of a quick deployment radio, kind of set it up this way with the speaker facing me, have an antenna on here with a counterpoise coming off the back. I got to figure out a good place to just connect to get ground from the radio, or do it somewhere up here around the antenna. Of course, I could pull it off of that as well. And operate it this way is like a kind of a quick deployment system where I'd throw something like, I don't know, a ham stick or some other kind of antenna. There's actually one by Chelegance I think I'm going to figure out a way to connect on here. The bulkhead, these bulkheads that fit on here really attach firmly. And it's just kind of a neat format for a pack frame, actually. So I just wanted to play with it. And the great thing is, these are kind of expensive to buy. They were, I'd say at first, prohibitively expensive, because I was like, there's no way I'm paying, I can't remember, I can't even remember how much it is now, maybe $130, $140 or more. For the way I wanted it configured, it may have even been a little bit more than that for all these different bulkheads and what they call it, relocation mounts. And then I'm really lucky that one of my readers on QRT.com, I believe it was, or a subscriber here on YouTube, had heard me say that I was interested in this pack frame, and he wrote and said, "Hey Thomas, I've got one of these I've been thinking about selling. How about I sell mine to you?" So he sold it to me used for a good price, and I picked it up. And I still ended up buying some things from Armoloq, like I wanted this relocation mount for the CW keyer. So like the key, this makes it a little more accessible to use the key, and it protects the wire all the way up really, so that if I'm using it in the pack, I can just plug my key in here and plug my antenna in here, and I'm good to go. Now, Gaston over at the Tech Prepper, he actually has a really cool pack. He's been working with a pack manufacturer in his home state there. I think he's in Arizona, is that right? And he's been working with a pack manufacturer, and he had one made, custom made the way he likes it. And it's a really cool looking pack. And it's actually a much, probably a heavier grade pack. This one's nice. It's actually really well made and handmade, but it's not on the level that I think Gaston's pack is. But I preferred this one for the way I use packs, because I didn't plan on taking this whole system and sticking it inside yet another backpack. That wasn't what I was planning to do. I just wanted something I could grab out of the car and use, or grab when I want to do a really quick field something or other. And I'll give you a really quick tour of this pack. As you can see, it has this padded interior pocket. And the funny part is, when I ordered this from CP Gear Tactical, I didn't know if the 817 would fit in here with the pack frame on. I wrote to them, told them the dimensions and everything, but I think my email just got lost in their system. And then Black Friday happened, and they discounted this, I think, 20% and gave it free shipping. And by the time I paid for it in US dollars, because I paid for it in Canadian dollars, by the time it converted to US dollars, I think the whole thing shipped was $60 US. So very affordable for a pack that's made by hand, and up to basically military standards. And I got it, and so the very first thing I did was try this pack frame in it with the 817. And it literally, it just fits it like a glove. It fits in here perfectly. And I just couldn't have asked for it to fit better, frankly. It even has this strap so that when you put it down, it misses the encoder. It goes right through the middle. And so if I'm holding the bag upside down, the radio doesn't come out. I mean, it literally couldn't have worked out better. The only mod I'm planning to do to this is, I still want access to some of the ports on the back while it's in the pack. Maybe if I want to recharge the internal battery on one of my radios, or just want to keep the battery in here, which there's plenty of room to do that. This is a fairly sizable pack, as you can see. I'm going to sew in an access point down here, either with, may use something like a grommet or something, but this is padded, not that it needs to be, but it's padded. So I think I'm going to put a little access point down here so I can pass through wires and cables and that sort of thing in the back. But this is just ideal. I really, really love this pack. It also has this pack, it has this spot in here where I could put things like, a notepad or something if I wanted to, or a tablet. I think it would hold a tablet. These are meant to hold tablets. In fact, that may be what this is actually originally, the purpose was supposed to be, was for this to be a tablet holder. On the outside, it has this pocket. Try to do this one-handed, where you can put pencils and pens and extra bits, maybe your earphones or something up in here. This was never intended to be a radio pack, by the way, of course. It has these little pockets on the side, which are roomy, and they have Velcro at the top of them, so it'll hold whatever you've got in there really nicely. Plenty of room. Plenty of room in there. Same thing on this side. And in fact, they even have pen holders and just other elastic holders in here. I don't know if you can see this or not. Whoops. There you go. You can see it now, probably. They got holders in here that are elastic. There's just so much I can do with this that I haven't configured it yet the way I want to, which is actually something I really enjoy doing, is configuring. And there's also a little place here on the back, which actually I could probably put a pass-through in here also to get wires and things out of this if I wanted to. There's a lot of ways I can configure this, so I'm very pleased with it. I'll have a link to this company, but again, at CP Gear Tactical, I think the normal price of this is like $99 Canadian or something, and you may have to pay for shipping, I'm not sure. They do occasionally have sales though, and I think they guarantee their stuff, if not forever, for a really long time. But it's simple. This pack is pretty simple, and it just gets the job done. It has like this elastic strap on. It has this regular strap. This is what you want to hold. There's another strap here that I'm guessing is used for flight purposes. There must be something like headphones or something that people stick in here. I don't know if I ever really use that a whole lot, but there it is. And oh yeah, on the bottom it has this kind of rugged, I don't know, some kind of vinyl-like material that makes it, you know, great for sitting down. It keeps it from getting abrasions down there and that sort of thing. So I'm very pleased with this pack, very pleased with it. And you got places to put patches on here and stick stuff to it. So if you're the kind of person that likes to do that, hey, you can go to town. So I'm going to go back to the car, grab my feed line, my longer feed line, and get this all set up. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and wow, this is a perfect case. Usually I'm a super organized fellow when it comes to packs and gear and all that stuff, but I'm using a new pack that I just threw together this morning before I came out here, and I'm still kitting out this bag, which is still kind of new to me, and I need to go through what I actually do probably once a season, maybe 2 times a year or something. I take all of my kits out. I assess what's in all of them, the inventory, check all of them, make sure the adapters, the cables, and everything that are in them are all good quality, working fine. Because if something fails on me in the field, I never put it back in without fixing it or something, right? If I can't fix it, then I do away with that one and then get another one and put it in. I'm pretty meticulous about that. Somehow today, I don't have an SO239 to BNC connector, which I need because this particular cable I have is unique in that I've got a BNC on one end and a PL259 on the other end. Now, I didn't even think to check it this morning when I was grabbing things to put in here, because I was thinking that the great thing about the 817 is it has both a BNC at the front and an SO239 at the back, so you can use either one. And I was thinking, oh, this will work great. This will connect up to the antenna. This will connect up to the radio. Perfect. But I wasn't thinking that if I'm using a random wire antenna, I have to use my tuner, and my tuner only has BNC connectors on it. So since I don't have that adapter, I can't use a random wire antenna right now. But that's okay, because I always have backups to everything. And so I actually have 2 different choices of 40-meter end-fed half waves that I could use. This is actually a linked one from Tufton, which I used in a video very recently. So it's a linked 40 and 20 meter end-fed half-wave antenna. Since I know I'm probably going to use 40 meters, I'm just going to go ahead and deploy this one as a 40-meter antenna and just see what it can do. Now, I will have to kind of reconfigure things here though, but the good thing is because 40-meter end-fed half-waves have about 61, 63 feet of line in them, or of antenna wire for the radiator. So what I think I'm going to do is just run it up alongside the building here, up into the tree and down, because what I don't want to do ever is to have any of my antenna wire over any place where people could walk or drive. That is a big no-no. You don't want to do that because you don't want them to run into your line, and you just don't want to cause any problems here. So what I'll have to do is kind of back up everything over to here and pull my line through, but it'll work out just fine because I think this is about 45 feet of RG174. So that's plenty of line to do that. So that's what we'll do right now. I'll see if I can set this up so that you can watch this deployment. It should be interesting. Let's see what we can do here. First thing I'm going to do is get this line, get my RG174, undo this, and with any luck, I'm just kind of, let's see, this is the antenna side because that's the BNC. I'll just kind of throw this out here, and yeah, it works fine. That sets it up. That's done. And now I'll try to set my camera down here so that you can see me do this messy job of, in no elegant way, putting up the antenna. You should be able to see most of this. So again, this is the MM0OPX 40 meter end-fed half wave. I've used it many, many times in videos. And I'll set this near here, pull out the line. Now what I'll end up doing is tying off this, kind of winding the line around so that it's holding the antenna up, like the feed point just about that high off the ground. I'll probably connect it to, probably run it around one of these benches here or something. And yeah, I'll probably do that. I think that'll probably work fine. And I may end up tying off that other end just to give it a little bit, you know, to make it a little more taut while I'm doing that. But that's about it. We should be in good shape. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera, set this up, and I'll show you what I did. Okay, so that worked out perfectly. You can see how it's kind of suspended right here right now, not touching the building, but going up straight up into the tree. And the line comes all the way around here. It's plenty long. So I'll go into the back of my FT-817 right here. No tuner will be needed. This is a resonant antenna. So it's going up, coming down, and you can see there maybe possibly the yellow knot. That's the end of the radiator wire. And that's it. And I kind of tied it off to this tree very loosely. It's mainly just so if we get a big gust of wind, it doesn't pull the tree and then drop the antenna and change my SWR in the middle of activating or something. So that's pretty much it. Let's get going, man. One of the longest setups I've ever done. But, you know, I'm not feeling in a rush today. I've got about an hour to activate, which is a bit of a rarity for me. In fact, I may end up having to switch out the battery in this radio as I do this. Okay, let's get our key out. I brought with me today my lovely Golly Traveler paddle, which I just love this thing. And let's plug in a battery. Plug in a battery here. Plug in the cable. Oops, what am I doing? Plug in the battery to this. And I'll just plug in the cable here. Now this, I'll say again, is my older ham radio workbench DC distribution panel kit. Today, they have a much nicer one even. I like this one, but the one they have now is even more robust. I think it's a really cool one, and I love it. So there we go. We got some power. I'll just use this battery to hold this up, I think, this extra battery. Got power on here, it's all looking good. Plug this in. Get things set up. Oh, yeah, so I have a PL259 on here. At the front of the radio, I have a BNC. Now, eventually I want to have a PL259 right here as well. But for the moment, I'll just plug in my PL259 back here. And you may kind of think, gosh, there's not a lot of room. But actually, they make this Armoloq thing so that you can get your fingers through to actually do, to tighten up the PL259. It's easy to get your fingers in there. That was one of the things I actually worried about with this pack frame, is I thought, gosh, is it going to limit my access for just doing normal things that I want to do? No, it doesn't. They really thought through all that. So you can tighten it, no problem. Get your fingers in. They've got like a point back here where you can put your finger in. It's not an issue at all. I think it's definitely going to be one of my longer activation videos. Okay, let's get to work here. Should we start on 20 meters? We'll start on 20 and see how it goes. Yesterday, 20 was absolutely dead. Okay, now first of all, I have to tell it that I want to use the back, the SO239 connector, which means I have to go into the menu settings and change that, because basically you have to select, see right now it's on front antenna, so it's going to this BNC and it says front antenna here. All I have to do is change, is it here? There we go. Now you can hear all the noise from the band. It's a noisy band today. And we're good. Let's go up to, that's a good sound. Let's see if anybody's on 59.5. Now I scheduled my activation, but I still need to set up a few things. Set up my paper log, set up my Hammers app. Here we go. Okay, let's see here. Let me grab Hammers and do this. I think it's K. Is it 5856? I think it's K58. 6856. That's what I think it is. It's K6856. Let's do this again. Okay. K4SWL at K-6856. We'll confirm it on the next screen. I just do this. I still use this POTA. This used to be the format you had to put your files in. I don't know if you still have to do that or not, but I kind of like it because it tells everything I need to know when I'm looking at my log files later. So park is K-6856, and it'll say Zebulon Vance. Yep. It's going to be CW, and we're starting on the 20 meter band. I'll go ahead and put a placeholder in here of FT-817. Well, it says DT. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to trash this as soon as I start doing my activation. But when I do this, now all the settings will stay locked in here. So when I move off screen to do something like check spots, it'll be fine. Let's go ahead and set up our paper logs and hop on the air. Good gracious. It's okay sometimes to not be in a big rush, though. I'm not used to that, if I'm being honest. I'm used to having to really rush through my activations because I've got such limited time, but not this time. Let me see, let's plug in all the way. There we go. There we go. No SWR at all, which is always a good sign. Let's see here. Logbook, pencil. K58, K80, K68, 56. Zebulon Vance. Today is the 11th of April, 2023. 20 meters CW. Also, I'll put FT-817, 40 meter end fed half wave, just so I can remember later. And right now we're coming up to 1800 hours. That's the reason why I use thick leads. I don't use this pencil a lot. I actually have really grown very fond of graph gear pens. One of my readers and viewers gave me the tip about those, and I just bought a second one of those. I love them so much. They're just super durable, super strong. They can deal with my heavy hand. I do love my 817ND. This is without a CW filter. It's as broad as a... Someone's tuning up on me. Good to get you in here, Mark. I don't know if I've ever heard of an N and a K together. That's a nice call. Okay, 8137. It's nice to get a park to park in there. Ah, yes. Gonna get you in here, Joe. I love the clunky sound of the 817, the relays. You can cut down on that by taking out full break-in. But I like it. I like that mechanical feedback. Okay, I'm gonna take a picture here real quick while there's a break in this. I can't forget to take pictures. I always want to put these in QRP here. Louisiana. Da 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 da. Good to get you near, Jeannie. Okay, wait. Okay, I heard the slash. Okay, wait. I gave him 3. NS1C. I like those extra details. And they were running QRP. Sorry. Okay. heard it. Did I hear an X? Let's see. Maybe that's what I heard. I hope I got that right. Did I get that right? Did somebody get their call sign? Let's first find out if I've got the right call sign. No callback? Sounds like a Mexican station. I'm not hearing anything, so I'll have to just go back. Okay, did I get... Okay. Okay. This one always gets me. Okay, let's see. K. Do it again. Is it? I think it's... Wait a minute. Okay, wait. Give me your call sign again. The band must be crashing on me here. 2 stations I've tried to call back I haven't been able to get. Okay. Oh, there we go. You may actually be, well, you're about an S7, okay. Alan has a wonderful YouTube channel you need to check out. Probably you already have. Oh, nice. There we go. You're almost a little too off frequency there. Wow, another. Okay, now we're going to move down to the 40 meter band, but I'm going to change batteries in my camera because I'm running out of battery here. So no surprise, I've been chatting away for a really long time. Let's go over a couple of things here real quick though. This was great. Actually, the band's doing fairly well today, but it's still there's still some instability there. I really wanted to get this XE2 station. I'm pretty sure that that's what I was hearing was XE2 TEF, but the conditions disappeared. That would have been a long throw for 20 meters today, because right now the farthest I'm getting is like Oklahoma and Texas. Mexico's a little further than that, if that actually was an XE2 station. The my K6, and I know this call sign, this is, I think it's like KB4, I think it's KB4VU maybe, but they disappeared on me too, it looks like. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but I probably faded out on them as well. Got to work Allen Park to Park. I've got to work a lot of Park to Parks in this one, actually. This has been really fun to get so many Park to Parks in here. Now we're going to go to 40 meters. I'm going to turn off the camera, change the battery, and I'll be right back. 40 meters and heard Allen calling. So I get to work Allen again. So he was calling CQ. I just happened to be on the same frequency he was. Very nice to get Alan in there. Okay, now I need to find my spot on the band here. Now, so you may hear me talk a lot about when I'm using a radio, and I meant to say this a little bit earlier, but just when I'm doing all the keying and I don't have a memory key or anything like that, it is difficult for me to key and talk at the same time. In fact, I basically can't do that. So I do a lot less talking, which is probably a blessing for anybody watching the video. But one of the things I thought about that I wanted to say, and I just didn't get it in, is that normally I like to keep my filters wide open, and I really do, when I'm operating CW, because I think it's better to hear what's around you. It's a lot better. If there's one drawback to the 817, 818, that series of radio, and a lot of other similar Yaesu radios like the FT-817, I think, and the 897, I think those are the numbers I can't remember off the top of my head, is they only have really one CW filter position, and that's narrow. When you don't have a narrow CW filter, then it's wide open. And then when I say wide open, I mean wide open. Like probably 2.5 kilohertz wide or more. There's just a massive difference. It almost sounds like you're listening to AM mode or something. It's so wide. And so I don't run, this is the one radio that I don't widen a lot. I would like it to be wide to about 1 kilohertz, like maybe 1 kilohertz wide, but there is no such setting. So it's either narrow, 500 hertz, because of the filter I have in here, or it's wide, as in super wide, like single sideband wide. It's so wide that really, if you have any stations within a couple of kilohertz with you, you're going to be constantly hearing them. And I like to have my filter open really wide unless there's another POTA station next to me. If there's some faint stuff going on with other stations, you know, a little bit off frequency, that's fine for me as well. I don't mind that. But I don't want it to be so wide that I'm capturing like another park or another person that's just having a rag chew at the same time. I don't really care for that. My goal for having that really wide bandwidth is, what am I doing here? My goal for having that really wide bandwidth is just to be able to, you know, hit that. You know, what did I do? Did I just work? I just worked Alan on 20 meters again. Why did I do that? I was thinking did I do that? Is he there or is he on 40? I'm losing my mind. I'm trying to do too many things at once. Yeah, he's on 20. He is on 20. I thought he was on... No, maybe he was on... Oh gosh, I have no idea. I think I was only looking at the last digits here and not the whole frequency readout. I'll have to go back and verify. That may be a dupe. It may be a dupe. I'm sorry about that, Alan. If it was, I'm going to put a star back here so I can go check that a little bit later. Ooh, it's got a high SWR. I'm thinking there's something wrong with my cable, because I am hearing... Something's wrong with this cable. It is. I know that. You may have noticed a little bit of difference in audio. Hear that? Audio going up? Oh, let's see. This looks like it's a little loose here. Let's try this again. Is that it? Is that what's causing the problem? Either that or I've heard it somehow. That's it. That was easy enough to fix. Basically, it's one little part here that I need to screw down that had become loose. That's all it was. Phew, that was easy. I didn't build this cable. This was done by ABR. ABR makes excellent cables, but that's just a little fitting that I didn't check. I probably loosened it when I was using it last time or something. This is like a 1.1 to 1 SWR. 20 or 40. I'll have to put myself, I'll make myself a note there. So this will be 40 meter CW from here on out. Sorry about that, Alan. I'm losing my mind. That's okay though. I'm a father of 2 teenage girls, man. It's a wonder I have any brain cells left anyway. Of course, these 2 are just throwaways that I'm doing to alert their RBM. Okay, Z. Good path into Georgia. Nice. I can go about 5 more minutes. You know what? I'm gonna call it quits here pretty soon. You can tell the bands have not recovered yet. Okay, we'll go ahead and turn this off. Wow, that was really fun. Now, this must be one of the longest videos I've ever done because of the introduction, how long everything took to put up the antenna. Must be one of the longer videos I've ever done with the fewest amount of contacts for that amount of video. I've got 27 contacts, which is really nice, actually. 20 meters was in much, much, much better shape than it was yesterday. Yesterday, 20 meters was suffering really horribly. It was terrible. 40 meters today was opening up the door to some really close-in stations like in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. Normally 40 is skipping over those. And so I'm kind of happy about that. I don't think this is exactly an NIVIS antenna setup like NVIS or anything, but it was giving me some of those contacts, and that's fine because I really like working stations in South Carolina. South Carolina and Kentucky are probably two of the states that I work the least. And I think it's because they're just a little too close, and I tend to skip right over them for some reason. Yeah, but I'm very pleased with this, actually. This was really good. I'll have to go back and check. I'm pretty sure if I look at the video, I'll be able to figure out which frequency I was on, of course, for Allen, but I'm pretty sure that was on 20 meters. And what had happened was actually right before I did the, I think it was right before I turned on the camera, I moved it. Did I don't know. Anyway, I moved it to 20 meters so that I could take a picture of the radio again with the complete log for 20 meters. And when I did that, for some reason in my head, I thought I was still on 40 meters. I'm glad I figured out what the problem was with the connector here. I can show you maybe a little bit better right now what was going on. But basically, let me take this out so you can see it a little bit better. Right here on the end of this cable, there's actually just another little piece that screws in there that has the center conductor, and that had just for some reason unscrewed a little bit. It was loose, and that was causing the whole problem. I noticed when I sat it down earlier that I was hearing a difference in the noise level, but I wasn't seeing any jumps in the SWR on 20 meters, and I think it was just sitting just right. And I thought to myself, well, you know, maybe that has to do with the band or something else, or maybe the capacitance when I was touching the radio. You may have seen me touching the pack and see if that made any difference, or the frame that was making a difference. But it was just this was just a little loose, and once I tightened it, boom, SWR came back, which is one of the reasons why I think all radios should have a built-in SWR meter, or you need to have something to check your SWR when you're around. you know, I've been testing the Xiegu G106 recently, and the G106 doesn't have a built-in power meter or SWR meter. A lot of my radios don't. The MTR3B doesn't, my TR35 doesn't. Are there others? I can't remember now. I just can't remember all of them if they do. And I'm trying to think if the SW3B does. I think it has a meter of some sort. I think it's just a power meter maybe. But if you have no metering at all, it's difficult to know if something's really going wrong. And you don't want to operate at a high SWR, like an extremely high SWR. This one was actually saying high SWR on there. So I guarantee you, if I would have continued to play radio, it would have just shut down to protect the finals of the radio. Of course, I didn't have to keep playing radio. I knew what was going on, and so I just wanted to remedy it. But I had a hunch it probably wasn't the cable, because the cables were very high quality. This came from ABR Industries, which is like my favorite cable manufacturer in the United States. And ABR always does an exceptional job. I bought this cable with custom ends on it originally bought this to be a dipole center. I wanted to just screw this to a dipole, and I thought 45 feet would have it high enough for what I was going to do. Haven't actually used it with a dipole yet. I've been using it with everything else. I use it with my MC750 a whole lot, my vertical, and everything else but dipole. So anyway, yeah, this was a lot of fun though, but 40 meters was definitely rougher than 20 meters, but 20 meters there at the end, I was noticing some instability there as well, because we had two different stations we called that didn't come back to us, and we probably faded into oblivion or something. But that's just the way it is. Don't ever let conditions stop you from going out and playing radio. You can probably today, with Parks on the Air and Summits on the Air, no matter what the conditions are, you'll get your 10 as long as you are patient and stay out there a long time in the field. Back when I first started doing POTA, like I guess some of my first POTA contacts were maybe in 2019, maybe 18, I can't remember. And I remember back then, especially when you would hop on the air, you could spend an hour, hour and a half just to get your 10 contacts, because there were so few hunters out there. And we had really poor propagation during that time. And so, you know, there's sunspot numbers were non-existent. It was very unstable. It was just not the best time to be playing radio. But we all kind of cut our teeth on Parks on the Air during those times. And now when, you know, the conditions are improving, it's just so nice to more easily work some DX, to get pile-ups and other things because it's more active, but also because conditions are a little bit better and more stable. But just recently, the sun's been acting up, and it's been spewing stuff and knocking out our, you know, it's been causing some geostorms and things like that. And yeah, that's one of the negatives about it. But can't complain too much. Made this activation. It was really fun. It was actually, it's nice to not do pile-ups sometimes, just to have more casual contacts. And I feel like I get a lot of beginners when I do that, because they're less intimidated by pile-ups, so they'll go ahead and put in their call. And I like that as well. Also, I see some new stations in here I've never worked before, along with some old timers that I've worked a whole bunch that haven't worked in a little while, actually, some of them. I think I've worked Joe in a while, AI5DD. I don't think I've worked him in a long time. There's some others here. I don't think I've worked AA5UZ. Judy, I don't think I've worked her. There are some others, but anyway, I better cut this off. I'm not going to show putting up the antenna this time. I just want to get this packed up and grab my daughters from school. I've got just enough time to pack this up and do that. So I'm going to cut this video now. But thank you so much. Man, it is such a beautiful day. This is wonderful. There's not a cloud in the sky today. It is a perfect day to play POTA. I'll have to do this again. This actually worked out really well, putting the antenna up this way. So yeah, I may do that again sometime. Wow, I don't want to leave it. I just want to stay out here and play radio a little bit longer, but duty calls. I got to do my chauffeur job for my daughters. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for all of your support, your kind comments, your constructive criticism, all that good stuff. I appreciate all of that. Thanks for coming along with me today. I do feel like you're just here with me, and we're doing this activation together with you by my side. And I like that. And Again, with support, I really appreciate people who support me on Patreon and through Coffee Fund contributions. That's very kind of you, and I love it. It does add to the channel because it allows me to buy equipment. It allows me to pay to run the websites, to do extra things that I do, and to travel, to pay gas and all those other things. And it's very nice. I feel so privileged to be the recipient of your kindness and your generosity. And my family does too, because any overages go into our family fund, trip fund, and we fund travels and stuff like that with that, which is a lot of fun. So anyway, thank you so very much for coming along with me today. I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care of one another out there. Be kind to one another. And until next time, 7 3s.